a bit of competition between the two fans or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Where do you stand on drummers?
I like them.
I like a drummer.
I like them to get the beat going for the songs and gets the crowd going, but I don't like them if they contribute towards that whoa, whoa.
Is it just the whoa one that you don't like?
I really hate that one in particular, but there's others.
I just have to say that hearing you do the James Jones
It does annoy me when... The second thing that annoys me about the translating them from other sports or other sides, though, is when a group of fans, they're usually the 19-year-olds who hang around up to 19 maximum age, so teenagers who hang around with the drummer, when they think that they invented that rhythmic thing they brought it to the sport. The song they sing about their player is the first time any song was ever sung that way at a sporting event. And if another club might sing it about their own player, they're thieving bastards or whatever.
No, some fucking pent up fucking issues with it.
It's not. You don't own the song. Just get over it, you dicks. Other people can sing it too. If it's funny, all the better. It's the ones that are neither funny nor owned by anyone, nor add to the actual experience of the game. I hate them, Tom. I hate them. I love funny ones.
Borderline, like
therapy sessions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love funny ones. I love any sort of.
This is another Partridge moment for you. This.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I did come up with an idea though. Just now, listening to your Jamie Jones singing inverted commas. I think we should have for next week a Mark sings.
Well, we've got a few more coming up here.
Get the listeners to. Well, let's say it to the end then. But I think we've got suggestions for songs you can sing. Can I also say before we move on? I know there's no Tom's poll this week, so what I've decided to do is for no prize, but just for shits and giggles. I'm going to throw in an accidental Steve-O at some point in the podcast. So if anyone hears it, tell us when and hashtag it accidental Steve-O, and we'll make a fuss of you next week.
Fair enough. Right, so Tom Eckley got in touch. He said, favourite chants. When Wigan came last year, I was a fan of the Sandow. Whoa, it's Sandow, you know. It's fatter than Mossy Merceau. That one. More great monotone singing.
Maybe the melody is lost somewhere.
I told you I can't. You know I can't sing. You're doing this on purpose to stitch me up.
This is my favourite thing that we've done for a long time.
Chris Macy got in touch. He said, made me think about one that London fans have. Every so often when our number 7, William Bartow, is tackled, the lads pipe up to the tune of You're Happy and You Know It and sing, if you're gonna touch our Willie, wash your hands. He says maybe it's not too original, but it does make me chuckle. I think that's pretty original. Dom Hodgson said, talking to Chance, it pissed me right off that the Rhinos fans can't decide between all Leeds are we and all Leeds aren't we. Even the club shop has done some merchandise with both on.
To be honest, I didn't know that was what it was. I just thought it was, oh, we are Leeds. Oh, we are Leeds. Oh, we are Leeds. Oh, we are Leeds. Oh, we are Leeds.
See, that's why you should do the singing.
No, that's why I shouldn't do the singing, mate, and that's exactly why you should.
Anyway.
How does it go?
All Leeds aren't we?
Oh dear. Sometimes the podcast is basically just for us, isn't it? Who else has been in touch?
Maybe your ex-wife might have listened to that as well. She loves my tone deaf singing.
She does love a sing song from you, doesn't she? She just likes a lot of stuff. Just not me. Right, let's move on.
Right, okay. So Liam at Rugby League Bet Stats, at RL Bet Stats, got in touch. He said, good pod again, lads. Competitiveness, betting favourite win percent since 2012. So that's basically, if the odds have been in this side's favour, the bookies have said this side's more likely to win, what percentage of times has that team actually won? In 2012, it was 61% of times the favourite won. 2013, 59%. 2014, 73% of times the favourite by the bookies won. 2015, 71%. In 2016, big improvement from the last 2 years, 55%, so the best in that 5-year stretch.
Right, okay.
That's up to round 11 in each of those seasons as well.
Yeah.
So in theory, it does hold true that it's a more unpredictable season than other years. So yeah, that's really good stuff, that, Liam. And I think me and Liam need to get our heads together with his data and my desire to talk about competitive balance. Because I don't have all these betting stats, but he does. And with them, I can start to think about writing something about short-term competitive balance. Which
excellent. I like the way you're peering at me over the top of your glasses on this one.
Which is something I've never had the chance to do because I've not had the data. So
I also love how innocent your mind is. That it's just about pure stats and statistical analysis, and in no way about let's get some of these stats and use them to make bets and win money.
Oh, I've used his tips a few times.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, then.
But the last time I did, I got excited and just went on try scorer bets, and the two hit and miss really, especially when you start trying to accumulate on try scorer bet.
Jesus, yeah, well, you're looking for a lot of ducks to line themselves up.
When you've only got a couple of quid left in your betting account, it's worth a try, innit?
Yeah, I suppose so. Right, David Brown.
Yes, so. Similar sort of theme to like competitiveness, really.
Yeah.
But David said, I've heard a lot of chat about the quality of Super League, and quality seems to be the wrong way of describing it. To 95% of the general public, quality is low down on the priority list when they want something from sport. The first is entertainment and unpredictability. This is where the excitement comes from, and which is what feeds the growth. Second is value for money. Third is facilities, and to be honest, in Super League they're hit and miss. Then he says, take ice hockey as example. Sheffield Steelers can get 9,000 a game to watch very low quality ice hockey. However, Sheffield, who are in one of the top 4 divisions, it is guessing in the Rugby League world, certainly top 4 or 5, get 900. So similar, the quality of the Premiership in football could be seen as being lower as Chelsea, United and others are underperforming and little old Leicester are top. Yet this has been one of the most hyped championships in years. The only time quality of a sport is ever an issue is internationally, and we've shown we can compete and really do. And really, do we care if the so-called quality is lower if we beat Australia or New Zealand? I suppose what he's getting at is a lot of people whinge and say Super League hasn't been high quality this year,
which is something we've said that the in terms of the execution and the technical aspects of the game, I would say has been lower than it has been in other years. But what we've also said to counter that is that it's actually been more entertaining because people are beating each other and
you don't know what's going to happen each week. It's hard to predict. You get
and it really
crazy things happen in games, or crazy games happen, and more so than in a predictable league where you might have 3 teams who are filled with Malmeningas and Brett Kennys and what have you. I'm sort of the same standpoint as David on
then long term, you would want the quality to be high because that is indicative of progression and keeping in touch with the Australian side of things and improving the game as a whole.
The theory...
Anomalous seasons like this, which it is at the moment, really, isn't it, where everyone's beating it. Like, who would have predicted some of the results we've seen this
year? It's not quite anomalous.
Made for more entertaining,
I mean, we had a similar unpredictability in the first 11 rounds of 2013. If you look back to competitive balance numbers I've talked about before, like win percent ratios and stuff, 2006, 2007 were competitive years as well. I think what it is, I'm with David on this in terms of you need to draw people in, you need narratives around the games, you need unpredictability, you need close outcomes, and you need a little bit of controversy too, I suppose. Then the point then is once you've got those people in, you should be able to make more revenues from spreading your sponsorship, from spreading your ticket sales, from spreading your TV, for getting a bigger TV deal, which we've fucked ourselves on because we can't for 8 years. So that's what, in theory, it should happen. And then when revenues start to go up, you can then start to increase your salary cap level, start to get more quality in. And if you supplement that with little ideas like the marquee player rule, for example, you can sort of bridge that gap as the position we're in now. It's just the clubs obviously don't have the money to spend on it because to my understanding, Wigan are the only team that's officially declared a marquee player in Sam Tompkins, or is Frank Pritchard?
I don't think he was
made the when he nearly signed for the New Zealand Warriors. So I think maybe they upped his deal, did they?
Yeah, but I don't think they didn't bring him out. They've not. Look, if they'd made him their marquee player with the way they've marketed him, I think they would have wheeled him out as our marquee player.
Yeah.
And they've done everything but call him that, so I'm assuming that he's not actually their technical marquee player.
So we stand on the let's have as much entertainment as we can, and I suppose some of the games from this weekend we can touch on that. It's just rugby league fans. Rugby league fans are eternally miserable. Nothing's ever good enough. If two teams score 30 odd points, it's because defences are shit. What a pointless game that is. Why would we want to watch a game where two teams can't tackle? That sort of attitude pervades our sport. But if it's like 10-all,
it's just a turgid affair with
thrilling and exciting, it'd just be neither team can attack, so it's a load of rubbish. That's the problem.
Said nothing.
Both of those two outcomes are really exciting
in certain areas of the field, and I'm with you.
Okay, Brian Davies got in touch with an email, and this was putting me back in my place. Really,
this really is one for you, sir. Yes.
So Brian said, couldn't let Mark's comments that Richard Lewis had his own interest in mind during his tenure at the RFL go without response. Lewis was chairman from 2002 to 2012. When he took charge, the RFL had debts of 1.9 million. The international game was on its knees. The previous autumn's Kangaroo Tour almost got cancelled after the Aussies used 9/11 as an excuse to get out of a tour they couldn't be asked to make. The whole pro game below Super League in 2002 was one division. What Lewis did was brought in a new league structure in 2003 which brought teams from outside the north into the national leagues. He brought in all parts of the game, Super League, Championship clubs, Barla, all together, and he also created the RLEF. He made playing for England the pinnacle of the sport rather than a chore. He introduced Magic Weekend. A true mark of his excellent leadership of the game is that he has been gone for 4 years and people mostly take for granted the things that he helped implement. The player pathways for kids through to Super League, the fact that most people in the UK have a rugby league club somewhere close to them, the fact that RFL has made a profit every year since 2004, the fact that we know there will be an international programme every autumn for lots of countries, the fact that probably the best coach in rugby league history wants to coach our national side for the next 2 years, and our best players talk about wanting to make the squad. The state of the game is far, far from perfect, but it's probably never been in a better state to survive and grow in the face of the challenges that the modern world brings. Lewis was an excellent choice as chairman of the RFL for that period. He has helped the game move on, so we need a different type of leader at Super League than Richard Lewis now, but let's not slag the bloke who rebuilt the foundations the current game is built on.
I might not know what year it is, but no one's ever bollocked me like that. Fair play. I mean, that's very good. It does. It casts a different light on your assertions re Richard Lewis, doesn't it?
Yeah, and some of the things he mentioned were that's an abridged version, and I basically kept in all the things that were legitimate things that put me in my place. And yeah, I probably was guilty, to be honest, of thinking back more towards the end of his reign and thinking, and I suppose in that period a lot of his oversight had moved away from the sort of domestic game at the professional and semi-professional level. But I just sort of felt like he was putting himself into a position for a new role. I felt like he'd kind of dropped the ball on some of the things he had implemented. Like, for example, licensing. Richard Lewis was big part of licensing coming about.
Right.
And whilst actually probably Blake Solly was a significant part of it falling down, given the role he had at the end of the licensing period, I felt like Richard Lewis let that thing hang out there to dry. I also think he introduced a laissez-faire oversight that basically means the Rugby Football League want to control everything but don't want to get involved and help clubs, and that's let clubs slip. And then when they have come in, it's been too late, or they haven't guided clubs well enough during that period. From the second half of his tenure onwards, I feel like there was no progress. But then again, not all of that would be Richard Lewis's fault. I just feel maybe because he left, I blame him and feel like it was a legitimate criticism to say he was jumping ship or what have you, or looking out for his own interests. When I suppose all of these administrators, by and large, would tend to be doing that. You could level the same accusations at Blake Solly. He made some good points, and I think on balance, looking at his whole tenure rather than just the last 4 years, Brian's made some really good points. Put me in my place.
Fair enough, and thank you for getting in touch, Brian. And that's the beauty of the Super League pod, isn't it? Is that we don't editorialise and kind of try and keep a a narrative art that suits the points we're trying to make. If you disagree with us,
we don't know everything. We don't have the same experience or knowledge of the game that some of these people who've
exactly. It's lovely to see people confident to do that, and